Let me tell you about my week.
Okay.
So on Thursday night, I
hmm
was invited to go to a recording of a live podcast at the Langford Legion.
What podcast?
It was called The Hate Locker. It was
Okay.
a podcast from a local comedian and his sister,
Yeah.
one that I had never heard of before. But we were invited from a pal, and it was quite interesting sitting in a live podcast.
Yeah.
Like it was good because he was a comedian, so like it was hilarious.
Right.
It was a funny time, but it was just such a weird environment being at the Legion. I don't know if you've ever been in a Legion before.
I have.
Okay, well then yeah, it was quite the experience.
Yeah, I would think so.
Um, and then this weekend, well, yesterday mostly, I was at a
Rug.
rugby tournament,
The women's rugby sevens.
and I have my I have a burn on my face now. I didn't put sunscreen on, so now my forehead and nose are a little red.
Well, you're the whitest person ever, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but it was a fun time all around. How was your week?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Didn't really get up to too much. That was all that exciting. Next weekend I'll be in Penticton. Looking
Uh,
forward to that.
doing what?
Doing an outrigger race,
Yeah, I
but
figured. I would assumed it was
yeah.
paddling related, but
But we're staying a couple days, a couple nights, I guess. So we're camping, so that'll be fun.
who's taking care of the cats?
My parents and my brother.
That's why you have parents
Exactly.
and brothers.
Yep. That's what they're good for.
This week, going forward, we watched a movie, Michael Keaton, starring. Do you remember what year that was? I don't remember what year that was, but
89.
1989, Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Batman.
Yes.
Our first movie in the 80s. It was crazy. Then I guess that movie was a lot like the movie we actually watched, which was um, the 2022 Batman movie starring Robert Pattinson and Colin Farrell as Penguin. Was Danny DeVito in the Michael Keaton Batman, or am I making that up?
He was.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger was the bad guy in the George Clooney one,
Yeah. Oh, and
or was
George
that
Clooney.
or
And
was that
George
Val
Clooney.
Kilmer? There's a lot of Batmans.
There is a lot of Batmans. Val Kilmer was a Batman, but the Val Kilmer bad man was. Oh boy. I don't know. I'm getting them all confused. I've seen them all. I
Was
made.
that Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Could have been. Could have been.
what's her face?
Uma Thurman.
Was she uh, Poison Ivy?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the one that had had the Riddler and Poison Ivy and
Jim
the.
Carrey was in Val Kilmer's Batman.
Man, I don't know. What hit me with these questions? I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, this wasn't something I researched beforehand, but
Do we ever research?
I like to have some sort of. I have a lot of trivia for this one.
Oh, that's good.
There was a lot of trivia for this one.
Oh, the one with Val Kilmer has Jim Carrey as the Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones as Two Face.
Right, Tommy Lee
And there's no
Jones.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and there's no Uma
Must
Thurman.
must have been the George Clooney one then,
I guess so.
because it wouldn't have been the Michael Keaton one.
No, yeah, it's George Clooney, Uma Thurman, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yep.
Okay, well, let's start the podcast.
Let's do that.
This is Your Mother Ate My Dog, the podcast where we watch a movie sometimes the same day, sometimes 2 days ago, sometimes a month ago, and then we'll just talk about it. This is the first movie, The Batman, that came out the same year that the podcast came out. 2022, still in theaters.
Is it?
Apparently,
Oh,
um, you could go see it tonight at the one in Langford if you wanted to.
oh,
I watched it on Crave
nice.
on my television that's not as big as a movie theater television screen would be. You would have seen it in theaters,
Yes, I
which
did.
which was probably a better experience. It'd be a little darker, but
Hmm.
how was your experience? Do you remember your experience in the movie theaters watching the Batman?
Yes, I do. Um, I remember really liking some parts and really not liking some parts. That's like the main takeaway as I walked out of the theater.
You could say that about any movie, though. You liked things and you didn't like things. You could say that about like any part of life.
I guess so. But I say with this film, I was like 50-50, like right down the middle, liking it and not liking it. Whereas sometimes you step out of a film, like you saw, maybe I saw The Green Knight. I saw that in theaters, where I was like 90% liking it and 10% not liking it.
The Green Knight was a movie that we were almost going to watch this weekend, but we chose to go with a different movie.
Have you seen The Lighthouse?
I have not seen The Lighthouse. Willem Dafoe is in that one.
Mm-hmm. And somebody else who is in the film we watch for this podcast.
Robert Pattinson. Yeah, The Lighthouse is a movie that I want to watch as
You would
well. But
probably you would like both of those, I think, if I know your movie tastes as I think I do.
you think I would like The Green Knight and The Lighthouse?
Yes, but they're very similar. The same director, similar in ways, the way that they're shot. You know
They're
how like
both
you
black and white.
no, they're not. But how you can, you know how like you see a Wes Anderson movie, you'd be like, that's a Wes Anderson movie, and you can see a movie by that director, whatever his name may be, and you can tell it's a movie by that director. It's the same thing that The Witch. Have you seen The Witch?
Is that with all the V's?
Yes, yes,
Witch?
yes.
I don't think I have.
Okay. Well, anyway, I must say, I feel like I may have misspoke just then. One second here.
The Lighthouse, yeah, movie I want to watch. I just like we are talking about before. We don't really have a lot of time to watch movies outside of our movie of the week. But
The Green Knight
that
was
being,
not by this guy that I'm thinking of. But anyway,
I did end up watching two different movies this weekend.
yeah.
Batman wasn't even one of them. The Guilty with Jake Gyllenhaal on Netflix. It takes place entirely in a 911 operating center, which
Oh,
was fine. And then a movie I had seen before but watched again, A Promising Young Woman, which is worth the watch just for the ending.
oh yes. Well, when you go back, you got to edit out that Green Knight thing.
Unlikely.
Okay.
Okay, so the Batman, you like some things
Yep.
and didn't like some things.
Yep.
I mean, I was in the same boat. Like I have a the most I've ever written note wise about acting.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm excited to talk about that.
Let's get into it so that this episode isn't super long and I don't just go ram Green Knight.
Okay, well, speaking of things that are long, this is the second longest comic book movie ever. It was just shy of 3 hours
Yes.
behind Avengers Endgame, which was just over 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because this film was 12 minutes longer than the third Christian Bale film, The Dark Knight Rises, which in turn was 12 minutes longer than the second film, The Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight was also 12 minutes longer than Batman Begins, which was the first film.
Is that real?
That's real IMDb for you.
Oh, interesting.
Um, they also achieved this without opening credits, and I thought that was a nice touch. No
Hmm.
opening credits, just jump right into the movie.
I didn't notice that.
Okay, well, do you want to just get into acting first?
Yeah, we can start talking about that.
Should we start?
Who?
Should we start the podcast?
Let's start the podcast. Let's do that.
Okay, then let's start with the question on everybody's mind, and that's how do you feel about Robert Pattinson as Batman?
Well, he was awfully edgy and a little depressing, but I wouldn't you be if your parents were killed and you were left all alone and you had so much childhood trauma? Don't you think?
It was a realistic take on Bruce Wayne for sure. I liked how they didn't show us seeing the parents being murdered. It jumped into like he's been Batman for a year or two now. Like
Yeah.
he's figuring his stuff out. He's not
Mm-hmm.
fully formed, but he's getting there.
Yeah.
So I like that. This wasn't an origin story,
No.
which was
And I,
important.
yeah, I liked how they didn't focus too much on like. Well, I guess he has a lot of money, right? But they don't. He doesn't like flaunt it, kind of like how the Christian Bale Batman does. He's always like walking around with and driving around in his Ferraris and you know what I mean, going on yachts and stuff.
For sure.
So
Um,
that was a different take. I thought it was interesting.
okay, I struggled with liking him as Bruce Wayne.
Hmm.
I thought I would going into it and was excited to see him, but he just wasn't as fun or engaging. It was hard to take him seriously, I think.
That's fair.
He was fine like when he was Batman in the suit. I didn't I found that believable.
Hmm.
It was fun to watch when he was yelling, "I'm vengeance" to everybody.
Yep.
But yeah, as Bruce Wayne with his like long, 19 or I guess mid 2000s emo hair, I don't know, just didn't do it for me.
A little too edgy for you.
Yeah, a little too dark maybe for the role of the Dark Knight.
I can see what you mean. He was awfully edgy, but I don't know. I liked his performance overall. I mean, there was no parts of his performance that I didn't really like. I guess.
It didn't stop me from enjoying the movie, and like
Hmm.
I'll still watch the sequel.
Right.
But and I don't know, maybe I'm being too critical.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. He was like a 5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I could see that. The person who I had the most problem with in terms of their performance was Paul
Andy
Dano's,
Circus. Oh,
not Andy Serkis, Paul Dano's,
okay.
and for as the Riddler. Did what did you think of his performance?
I enjoyed it. I thought he was wonderful. I like Paul Dano as an actor. Um,
Yes.
and he was the role of the Riddler. He was trying to do like a Zodiac killer kind of vibe, glasses.
Right. Right.
Um, but I thought the character itself was maybe a little too real. Like this could actually happen in our time.
Yeah.
That whole ending um, with the dams breaking and the vans going off and the people, his followers, that could happen. So perhaps terrifyingly real. But
Right.
I did enjoy his performance and look forward to seeing him in the second one. Oh, I forgot to say, spoiler alert. Probably with the new movie, not a lot of people, maybe half the people would have seen Batman by now. And hopefully you assume that we're going to be saying things in the movie. So spoilers if you haven't already figured that out.
Yeah. I will say I liked Paul Dano's performance, like while he was wearing the mask and he was like having those. He was like doing a lot of the things that like the Joker did in the Dark Knight, where like he's like calling up Batman like on the phone or like going on the news and talking.
Hmm.
So that felt a little derivative, but his performance in those scenes were good. I just didn't like the part like where he was being interrogated at the end, or like near the end, I guess, where like and he like starts singing and like it was just a little over the top and like I just felt it was really awkward.
He lost his marbles a little bit.
I mean, I
Um,
guess like he is an insane person, right? So I mean, that did seem like what an insane person would do. Maybe I'm just sort of like dumping my like discomfort from that scene like onto his performance.
I will play a little devil's advocate for you. This movie filmed in a pandemic, so they had to kind of do things out of order. The scene with Batman and the Riddler in the interrogation room where he was singing and Ben was just hitting his arm against the glass was filmed pretty early on
Oh yeah.
in the process, so maybe he hadn't quite figured out his character yet.
Okay. Hey, I got a question for you. Do you want to still talk about acting?
Well, yeah, there's one person I want to get your opinion
Okay, let's
on,
talk about it.
and that's Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
Every podcast, we're always talking about the girl character and be like, "Oh, I wish she was better." I like Zoe Kravitz a lot as Catwoman.
Yeah.
I thought she did a tremendous job, and it sounds like as she spoiler drove away at the end, perhaps never to be seen again. I hope she does come back in some way,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought she was great.
Yeah, I liked her performance too. I would say most notably, if I were to nitpick a bit, would be her performance while she was on screen with Robert Pattinson. I don't know. I didn't think their chemistry was great.
Me neither. And there's actually been a lot of people who have like commended their chemistry. They thought their chemistry was very good on screen,
Hmm.
but I didn't see it
Yeah, I don't know if I
at all.
agree. Yeah.
I didn't believe if there was like a love interest there. I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad they kind of tease it
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
mostly when he was looked like he was dead. But
Yeah.
yeah. See, we do like women here on the
We
podcast.
do. Of course we do.
But with that said, Anne Hathaway and Halle Berry as Catwoman, I don't know if I liked them too much. So maybe this is just comparing
Hmm.
apples to oranges or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, acting. That's all for me. Well, I mean we can talk about it more when we get to score, but
Yeah, okay.
I have a question for
Okay,
you.
sure.
What do you want to talk about now?
Well, I was going to ask you a question. I'm
Okay.
curious if you've seen the movie Seven. I assume you have.
What's in the box? Yeah, I've seen the movie Seven.
Would you say this movie is pretty similar to that movie in some ways?
Like in
How long ago have you seen? Did you see Seven?
it's been a few years.
So basically, you know how they're trying to catch this serial killer, and they keep coming to these different scenes, like these horrific scenes, and there's like little clues, and they got to like figure out the clues to get to the next thing.
Right. Okay. So you think that the Batman ripped off Seven?
I wouldn't say it directly ripped off, but I thought it was quite similar in some ways. And so there's that's not really the main point I'm trying to make. The main point I'm trying to make is you remember our previous film that we watched, The Butterfly Effect.
Ashton Kutcher. Yep.
You remember what movie they snuck into as kids?
Was it
It was
Seven?
Seven.
Wow! It all comes
It
around.
all comes around. Because I just before I even seen The Butterfly Effect while watching this movie, I'm like, this really is quite a bit like the movie Seven. And then yeah, just like when I saw, because when I did end up watching The Butterfly Effect, I already knew you wanted to watch this movie for our next one, and then I was like, whoa, the connection. So that was just a little thing, but you don't remember Seven as much as I was hoping you would, so you're not really on board with me. But I think
Well,
people might be, you know,
yeah. Well, I mean, now that you're explaining it to me, it does make sense.
yes,
I should rewatch Seven.
hmm
That's what I got out of watching the Batman. I should rewatch Seven.
totally. You would see a lot of similarities. Hey, I have another question for you.
Okay.
Now, the question is, why does every superhero movie need to tease the next movie in the series? You notice that?
Yeah, like with like the Avengers and
Like, I literally can't think of a superhero movie where it didn't like there wasn't like an after credit scene or like a little nod to the there's going to be another one.
you're talking about in in prison with the Riddler talking to this person
Yes,
who
who we assume is, I guess, the Joker. I don't know.
the Joker. Yeah, that's what I assumed. Just by the way he was
Yeah,
laughing,
I don't know.
and he looked like the
Yeah,
Joker.
I don't know. I'm a little tired of it, I guess. I mean, it makes sense. Like, these movies are, they're banking on their own success and hoping that people see that and be like, oh, I gotta go see the other one because, they're trying to make money, right? But it's just kind of like I don't know, it's just been done a million times.
Interesting. What I've noticed about this review so far is that we have differing opinions on almost everything.
Yes.
Because as we get into our score for ending, I'll make it pretty clear that I liked how it's setting up for a sequel,
Mm.
um, which is unfortunate, I guess,
What's
for this point. But I liked it. I think it it wasn't a complete ending, and maybe because everybody's expecting that it's not going to be a complete ending, we're not going to have um, a resolution for a Batman movie
hmm
because it's going to lead into the second one because that's how they make the money.
Yeah.
There's going to be a second one. There'll be a third one,
Yep. Probably.
and I mean, this movie made and is still making a butt ton of box office cash.
Sure is.
So they'll just keep doing it. I haven't seen anything about a sequel. I don't know if they've started filming or if there will even be a sequel, but it sounds like there should be.
I think they released. I saw on Twitter they released like a image teasing the next film. It's like Batman's mask, like encased in ice,
Oh, 2025 probably.
something like that.
So Arnold
Mm.
Schwarzenegger, are they just redoing every old
Maybe,
Batman movie?
maybe. I mean, that is sort of like suggesting that Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, not. I mean, I guess he's just called the Iceman. I can't remember, but I guess he's coming back.
This movie was originally supposed to be a Ben Affleck thriller. Ben Affleck obviously playing Batman in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
They had the script written and everything. It was going to take place mostly in Arkham Asylum, and I think follow. I don't know if you played any of the Batman video games, but follow
Okay.
the Arkham Asylum Batman
Oh, that
game
would be interesting.
with. You ever see Magic Mike?
No,
Um, the guy who's married to Sofia Vergara, Joe Manta
Manta de
Janelli.
Jelly.
He was going to play the villain
Hmm,
in Arkham Asylum.
interesting.
Obviously, I think people are happy that it went this direction, not Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see if it sounds like the Joker's going to be in it.
Yeah.
The Riddler, the Iceman, perhaps Poison Ivy,
Could be.
perhaps Robin. Hmm?
Maybe they haven't used
May-
Robin a ton in any. Like he's only really been in like one or two of the movies. Like of all the Batman movies.
Well, I thought maybe with that the young mayor's son. I remember the mayor's son. Um,
Yeah.
at the end, I thought maybe they were teasing like a Robin situation
Could be.
with that, but man, probably not.
So I think you can probably see the trajectory of how I feel about this film, but I would like to talk about some of the things I really liked about it because like I was said, there was some things I really liked.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, I liked Robert Pattinson's performance as a whole. I thought it was an interesting take, and I thought it worked pretty well. I also liked a lot of the action scenes, like the scene where he's trying to catch the penguin and he's in his Batmobile.
Yes.
That scene is pretty awesome, and I heard it was all like real driving. Like it was actually a real driving sequence. If you know what I mean, like it wasn't generated.
It was like a real car,
Real cars
real
and like
stunt
real
people.
stunts and stuff. Yes. But anyway, I thought that scene was very cool. And there's also this scene where Batman is like going through this dark hall and these guys have like machine guns or their Uzis or whatever they are, and he's like fighting them, and their guns are going off, and it's kind of like flashing. That scene was cool as well.
Yes,
It was
yes,
like a
very aesthetically pleasing.
yes, yes, it was very aesthetically pleasing. And I will say, mentioning the Penguin, I thought Colin Farrell's performance. I was going to talk about a bit about that in acting, but I thought it was probably the best performance out of all of them. If I were to pick one, he was like sort of a silly character, but he pulled it off like really well. Like it reminded me a bit of those '90s Batman movies, but like in a good way, not like in a cheesy way. So it was kind of like a an interesting crossover, I thought, between like the two eras of Batman, because like in the ones with Christian, no, what the hell's his name? The one with like the Dark Knight and who plays
Christian
Batman?
Bale. Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, thank you. The ones with Christian, those ones like there's are no funny moments really in those movies. Like there's no silly moments like we got from the '90s Batman movies. But in this one, like it was edgy and serious, but there was also like those silly moments with Colin Farrell. But I thought it really worked. So yeah, it was like a cool sort of melding of those two eras of Batman movies.
Totally, totally. I like it. I like it.
Hmm.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
it.
that's what that's the main things I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, one thing I really liked about the movie
Hmm.
was that Robert Pattinson auditioned for the role while filming Tenet, which was a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
He lied about a family emergency to get time off for it. Um,
Oh,
but Christopher Nolan, obviously, Batman director, for the Christian Bale ones, he figured it out and was like, "We should have just told me. I
right.
would be fine with it because I'm the Batman guy." So
The Batman guy.
Jonah Hill was the main choice to play the Penguin,
Oh God.
but it didn't work out. He actually wanted the Riddler role,
What?
as well. I don't think he would have been good in either of those.
Me neither.
When Batman said "I'm vengeance" in the beginning of the film at the train station,
Yeah.
he improvised the line. He was
Oh.
just punching a guy in the head and just said "I'm vengeance." So
Hmm.
edgy.
Very edgy.
So it sounds like you're aiming negative with this review.
That is the
Or
general trajectory. Yes,
your score will be lower than.
yours, 100%.
Yeah, okay. So I think we should get rid of originality for this one,
Okay.
because obviously it's a Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
It should be low. It is like a different kind of Batman movie, I suppose.
In a way, yeah.
It's a little different than maybe the last ones, but
Mm-hmm.
still, obviously, it's not going to be a high score for anybody. So,
Yeah.
we you didn't like the ending, or did you like the ending?
Uh, no, I didn't really like the ending. I also didn't really like the ending. You know where their Batman is fighting the Riddler army. I don't know what they're called, but those his followers.
Yeah.
And like they're in that it's not a stadium, but maybe like a conference center or whatever it is.
Okay, it's an arena. It's called Gotham Square Garden. It's just a ripoff of Madison Square
Okay.
Garden in New York.
Okay.
So it's a like a hockey arena or a sports
Hmm.
arena.
I didn't really like that scene. Especially there was like a lot of like, oh, is Batman gonna die? It's like, no, saved at the last second. Is he gonna die now? No, saved at the last second. And like, oh, the bad guy's gonna shoot him, but he's gonna take a long time to do it, and then he's saved. It's like a movie trope that's so old and stupid. And I hated that part.
He did get shot though, quite a lot in this movie.
He does, but like there's this like the guy there's that one scene where he's like holding off the rail and the guy literally has a shotgun like aimed right at him. He just like stares at him. It's like
Yeah, I was yelling to the guys like in the head, shoot him in the head.
Stop shooting his armor.
Nobody, yeah, nobody shot him in the head. Just
I couldn't hear you.
always in the chest.
And then like what I was saying before, like the chemistry between Batman and Catwoman wasn't very. I didn't think it was very good. And so like at that ending where they're like saying goodbye or whatever, it's just like wasn't all that believable to me. It's like, oh, there she goes. So, I don't know. I just wasn't that intrigued. And at that point too, I was getting a little worn out because the movie was too long, in my opinion.
Yeah, 3 hours is tough.
It was like, and especially like when the Riddler is like explaining the real plot of his plan. It's like, oh, I was trying. He's like, you haven't figured it out yet. And then there was like another 45 minutes left in the movie or whatever it was. It's like, oh, it's just going on and on. But yeah, so the ending wasn't all that interesting to me, really. It's like one of the worst
Okay.
parts of the movie, I thought.
Okay.
So for ending, I gave it a. Are we doing scores now?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. For the ending, I gave it a 3. It was a
Okay.
poopy ending.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I wrote this down before I knew what you thought of the movie and before I knew how we were going to be differing on everything.
Hmm.
So this is what I wrote for ending. The ending is not a complete ending, obviously, as it's setting up a sequel. But I did like the story and how it leads into the second movie, and I thought the attack by the Riddler was clever, and it was aesthetically pleasing seeing the water rush into the arena and have them fight on the jumbotron. He helps the city try to rebuild, and Catwoman leaves, perhaps never seeing her again. It made me want to watch the sequel, which makes the ending a successful ending. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay, okay.
I enjoyed the movie because enjoyed the ending because it set up the second movie. Obviously, it's not supposed to be a complete stop.
Right,
And I thought the Riddler's plan was, and the way they did it was clever.
right.
Um, Seeing the water rush in and everybody in that one area, and then I thought it was good. 8.5.
Okay. Yes, very differing opinions. Yeah,
Yikes.
the water rushing in was cool, I guess. It's just like it just felt like such a like a just a bunch of movie tropes at the end. Like it was just like I thought the movie was doing something different, like taking like sort of different directions with Batman, and then like at the end it was just like superhero movie. I don't know.
That's fair.
All right, what next?
Expectation.
Hmm.
I gave it a 6.
Mm-hmm.
High expectations for a movie like a Batman movie, like a movie that pays so much. Um, like they have such a big budget, you expect it to be really good.
Yeah.
Um, it's probably like it's never going to meet really the expectations. Um, I thought it was still pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
So like it wasn't the greatest movie I've ever seen, but it
Yeah.
it was like I would have probably paid money for it. So I gave it a 6.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I kind of went in with low expectations. Like I was a little apprehensive given like I guess the promotional shots I had seen and like the buzz about it that I had heard. I heard pretty it was like pretty mixed reviews, I guess. And so I kind of just like forced myself to have a bit lower expectations. And it was better than I was expecting. Not to say that I particularly like super enjoyed it, but it was better than I thought. So for that, I gave a 7.
Oh,
So it was better than my expectations.
okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Wow, high score. You must really like the movie.
Mm.
Acting, we've talked about acting a lot. Um,
Yes.
so I don't want to repeat.
Right.
But there is one thing we haven't touched on. The dialogue in the film.
Yeah.
and the way the characters interacted with each other, like it seemed a bit off, a bit strange.
Hmm.
I found Robert Pattinson, he would just say like the obvious thing. He would find, he would go into one of those rooms, find a
Yeah.
clue, and then just say it out loud, even though like they made it pretty obvious what was happening.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the relationship between Batman and soon to be Commissioner Gordon, um, it just seemed really forced. Like they didn't really have good chemistry together.
Right.
Maybe it was just the actor who played James Gordon. I like him as an actor, but I don't know. He was just a little off.
Right.
The Penguin, the Riddler, I liked. Catwoman, I liked. Robert Pattinson was iffy. I give it 7.5.
Okay. Yeah, I had some performances, like I said, I really love, like Colin Farrell, and I liked, I liked a lot of the actors in here. Like I also like Paul Dano, like in There Will Be Blood. Have you seen that movie?
Probably many years ago.
He's like fantastic in that movie. And John Turturro, I really like him too.
He bowls.
He bowls. That's right. So I was like, I guess I kind of wanted a bit more from them, especially Paul Dano. I just didn't like I said, I didn't really like his performance. And John Turturro like was okay, but he like definitely wasn't a bad performance. But I've seen definitely better from him. And yeah, I don't know. I've said a lot about acting, like I said. So my score for acting was a 6.
Okay, then because we want to leave this podcast on a positive note, you go first for your score out of 10.
Okay. My score out of 10 is a 5.5.
Okay, that's probably higher than I thought you were going to say. 5.5 out of 10. You did
Hmm.
pay money for the movie, so maybe that's disappointing.
It wasn't like yeah, I mean like it wasn't the worst Batman movie. That's for dang sure. There are some pretty terrible Batman movies. It was I mean there was definitely some very entertaining parts that I liked, but then some really like some parts that were really distracting. I just kind of wanted them to be over. And the ending I did not like, so it left maybe a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. So yeah, 5.5.
I give it my first quarter score,
Okay.
7.75 out of 10.
Okay.
The Batman, 2022. One thing I just remembered that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Um, Last week was on the butterfly effect. We never talked about the sequels. There's a butterfly effect 2 and a butterfly effect 3.
Really?
We never talked about it.
I didn't even know they existed.
Well, I did, and I should have said something at the time. Now it's a moot point. Anyways, 7.75 out of 10 for Josh and 5.5 out of 10 for Jesse, and that's the Batman
Yes, indeed it is.
2022. Okay, well, we'll get rid of that, and we'll move on to the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any idea what you're doing for that one?
I know exactly what I'm doing for that one. I have it all picked out.
Dracula Returns.
It is not a Dracula related movie. I will tell you that. No.
No, it's obviously Willem Dafoe.
No. So it was somebody we mentioned right near, sort of near the beginning when we were talking about other Batman movies. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll be thinking of Michael Keaton movies.
Well, I wouldn't start there if I was you. But this is a movie that I've always meant to see. I've heard about it like a bajillion times. It came out the year after I was born. I was born in 1992.
So 1993 George Clooney movie.
No, it's not George Clooney. So, yes, I think it's going to be definitely a change of scenery. It's not like a movie we've seen before.
Well, anything else you want to talk about before we cut this podcast, which should be shorter than it normally is?
It should be, especially after all the things you cut out of me saying that I didn't want to
Um,
be in there.
I'm tired. I probably won't cut out much.
Fair enough. No, there's not much else I want to add. Oh, we were very concise this episode, I think. Although at the beginning we rambled, or I should say, I rambled.
That's what
But
makes a good podcast, just the rambling, the connection that we have. It's like we're just we're not scripted. We're just having a talk.
we were having a talk. And for all of you listening, all the Gregs out there, we appreciate you listening. I found out recently that another person from my work has listened to a few of our episodes, and also somebody who I used to hang out with when I played Smash Brothers a lot. I still play Smash Brothers a lot, but I used to go to like tournaments and stuff. He watched our Green Lantern episode, and he thought it was very good, and that movie is not given quite the credit it is due. You know how
By
people.
watched, I'm sure you meant listened. We,
Yes,
we don't have a visual component to this.
we do not. I meant listened. But yeah, he said he's like, oh, you know what? That movie isn't so bad. He also gave me a suggestion for a future episode, which I might just very well pick that movie. It's possible.
Okay, good.
Uh,
We always love a suggestion.
yeah, totally.
Okay.
Okay.
Then yeah, I guess we'll just have to stop the episode now. This is episode 14?
Yeah.
15? 13.
14. 13?
Do you have the odd numbers or do I have the odd numbers? I don't know.
I have the odd
You would have had the
numbers.
first one, right? So the odd number. So is this 13?
I think, no, it can't be.
Now I have to check.
It's got to be 14.
It's got to be 14.
It's got to be 14.
It is 14. Yeah, episode 14.
Look at us go.
Yeah.
That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah. And maybe the next episode will be a live episode of the Legion.
Yeah.
That'd be terrifying.
That would be terrifying. I wouldn't, I mean,
They did charge like $20 a ticket though.
good
So
lord.
they
It
made
might,
some cash.
it
They were
might be
like
worth it. You're like, your favorite podcast, your mother ate my dog. And they'll say, what did you say to me?
yeah. All right, Jesse. Well, this is fun once again.
Yes. Can I ask you a question right before we finish?
Yeah, sure.
What's been your favorite episode of our podcast?
The favorite. I thought we'd be doing this on the 100th episode, but
Yeah, well, I want a 14th episode check-in. Not
we
what's your
used to
favorite, not your favorite movie, but what's your favorite episode?
we used to do 25-minute episodes.
We did.
Those
We were
days.
very short. Now it's just going on and on.
I think Old Boy might have been my favorite so far.
Hmm.
Oh no, Doctor Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam.
Yeah.
Doctor Otto and the Riddle of the Gloom Beam, which is, without knowing too much about the movie that I want to watch, similar to what I want to watch, as in it is an 80s movie you could find on a VHS somewhere.
Okay. All
John
right.
Goodman.
John Goodman. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, well, I hear the music, so I guess we gotta go now.
Oh, there. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.